Our 6-inch tile is bone dry. You can see it's turned a lot lighter color, a very pale gray compared to the color of the darker gray of our fresh clay. It also doesn't feel cold to the touch. When your clay is bone dry, it'll feel roughly room temperature, maybe a little cooler, but it won't be cold as wet clay would. The next thing we need to do to get our tile ready to fire is to do the final refinement. There are 3 tools that we'll use to do this final refinement. Okay. Your metal scraper. What we'll do first is take our metal scraper and run it along any edges to give them a quick bevel, just to make sure we got off all those sharp pieces. Now if you took the time to bevel the edges with your fingers when you made the tile, this step is probably unnecessary. So we've got all the tiles beveled. We still have a little bit of a sharp edge here and a little bit of extra clay around our corners. So we can take one of 2 sanding tools to help us refine this further. This is simply a green scrubby like you would buy for doing the dishes. And if you cut them into small manageable squares, they're easy to handle. Another thing you can use is drywall screen. This is sold at hardware stores. It comes in varying grits, and this is also a very handy tool. But both of these are best used when the clay is bone dry. If you use them on wet clay, they'll clog and they won't do anything. If you try to use them on leather hard clay, they'll clog and they will work not very efficiently at all. You can see just by rubbing the scrubby on the surface, which dust we're generating. And what this does is we'll take off the high spots, okay, and round off any corners or sharp edges we still have. We want to make sure we do this on all 4 edges, top and bottom. If you have any texture from the canvas board they were sitting on or the wear board, you can take your metal scraper and just by scraping off that top layer, you can get all that texture removed from the tile. You might ask, why do we need to do this? We're going to paint over it. Depending on what application method you use for your underglaze can accentuate all these little byproducts and marks that you don't necessarily want on your tile. So this happens to be the back of the tile, and I've got a couple little marks here, which isn't going to affect this piece too greatly, so I'm not worried about that since it's the back. But I still want to take the time and refine it and make those marks go away. Now, we want to be careful that we're not inhaling this clay dust. It is silica. It is not good for our lungs to be inhaling. So be careful that you're not sanding right close to your face, that you don't have wind blowing in your face, etc. And try and keep the dust to a minimum if possible. One more quick brush over the tile. Brush off all the excess dust. And our tile is ready to go back to the kiln, bisque firing.